Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into episode 3 at Octagon Chronicles. Almost said it wrong. Very special guest in the building tonight. Trey Ogden is our first UFC fighter of the new year. We're very happy to have him in. He just got a contract into the UFC. If you've watched the Dana White Looking for a Fight series on YouTube, or if you've known any type of regional MMA, you know who this guy is. It's Trey Ogden. He's in the building tonight. Very happy to have you. The Samurai Ghost. I wanted to get that in there. What's going on tonight, Trey? Yeah.
Another day, just got done training.
Yeah, I bet every day is a grind for this guy. Your name is Marathon MMA.
Martial arts marathon. Full time. Let's do some laps.
That's
every day.
And you're all about it, too. I mean, I want to start off with, first of all, congrats on getting the UFC contract.
Thank you.
Did it bring any sort of validation to this long journey of yours? You've been on a very long MMA journey. And to finally get that UFC contract, to finally be in the UFC, did it give you that validation? Or, you probably knew this would happen a long time ago, I'm assuming. But did it give you any sort of new found aura, I guess?
Yeah. So there's a lot in there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I would be lying if I said I didn't receive some kind of validation from getting signed to the UFC. But by the time my journey was so long that by the time I got to that place, I had already internally validated my skill level as a martial artist. So, I already knew. I had come to the place where I didn't need to be told that I was UFC caliber anymore. I knew it whether I got signed or not. But what I had started to not know was whether or not I was going to get an opportunity to prove it. And so, the part within me that still needed to be validated was my journey, not necessarily my skill level anymore. It was I felt good about myself as a person, but I almost felt crazy. I was was I crazy thinking I could do this? Because seemed like it just took so long. And then when it happened, I was man, yes, all of my work, all of that compounding work, I was on the right track. I did know what I was doing. And since getting signed, I've been able to kind of look back and process my journey from, I would say first pro fight to this moment, and realize how much of that journey is actually going to be there for me. And
absolutely.
And that experience is going to be there for me in the UFC. And I think it worked out perfect in the long run.
Yeah, congrats on that. It's amazing.
In previous interviews, I've actually heard you say you've been training for 10 years this journey's been?
Well, I'm 32. I've been doing martial arts since I was 12, and I knew I wanted to do martial arts as a lifestyle and a living my whole life. I got into competitive MMA around 1920, so I actually been fighting 11 years at this point. My first amateur fight was 2010. So
wow.
So I heard you say that you've put in the 10,000 hour rule.
It's one of the Godfathers.
You've put in 10,000 hours.
10 years, 10,000 hours.
Doing all of that. And then I can see why you'd say, kind of start to think, am I going crazy? Because you've done everything it takes to get to this point.
Well, and I sacrificed a lot of other opportunities in life, whether that's particular styles of relationships or friendships, or when I say style, a lifestyle of hanging out with people and stuff, where I just didn't do that because I had to go stretch and I had to go do this, or I had to, I've just always been on this regimen, and all of that sacrifice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think has been the biggest, if you can pick one, or maybe there's more, but what's been probably your biggest sacrifice? Not that you regret it, but what's been the biggest thing or the hardest thing for you to actually have to sacrifice?
Well, to go back to what I was saying, I kind of lost my train of thought. Is I was sitting at one point with no UFC contract and no job and no other skill besides martial arts at 30 years old, and really thinking about that is you know what I mean?
Crazy, yeah.
That was a massive conscious sacrifice that I did for a decade because I truly believed where I was going to do this. That was what was truly in me. And to be in a moment where all of a sudden I didn't know if that was going to happen or not, that's when I felt the weight of that sacrifice. You know what I mean? Because everybody, we say 10,000 hours, 10 years, everybody, you had your time in. Was it weird to me? It was weird to me that it wasn't happening because I did everything everyone said you should do. You know what I mean? And then so when it finally did, it was I felt the relief of that, and it's easy now to look back and be yeah, I'm professional martial artist for the rest of my life, you know what I mean? But there was a moment where I had done all the work and had nothing else to fall back on, and I felt the weight of that for sure. in hindsight now, it's like I think the main sacrifice is like personal relationships. Like I don't hang out with people on the weekend. Like if you want to hang out with me, it's at the gym. Like that's it. Because like I basically dedicate every minute all my energy is put into the success of this mission, and especially now that I'm in the UFC and that I do have that opportunity. And so like I feel that, like I'd like to see my family more and my friends more, but when I'm on a serious war path right now, and when you're in the UFC, I mean that's a serious thing. It's hard for people to wrap their head around when they're not in the UFC. Like I'm about to fight the most dangerous people on the planet, and that's my real body on the line, so I have to be extremely focused. So it's like I'm on this like crazy long war path, but at home, and sometimes that's hard to like. It is hard to push personal relationships like and see people less frequently than you would like to, and that sits with me a little bit.
Yeah. So you got used to your home in the fray, and like it shouldn't go unmentioned that you're a fantastic coach. You've got a lot of guys that rely on you as well, and they trust you with their career, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to
take that serious too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to be continuously studying and progressing my understanding of the game, not just for myself, but for these guys who look to me to have those answers for them and trust me to guide them, because they too are making these similar sacrifices as me, and I take that very serious,
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, do you find yourself as, now that you've gotten to maybe not necessarily where you thought you wanted to be, but you're now at the doorstep, you got your UFC contract, do you find that now you're looked at, or you feel like you have to set an example now for these guys who've also decided to undertake this huge sacrifice of, changing your whole life? It's not like you just get to go fight. Like, you have to train your entire life.
That won't work.
Yeah. You're going to be playing for like 5 seconds and you get knocked out. Do you feel that now that you have gotten to that point and you're doing the training aspect and the coaching aspect, that you have to be an example for these guys? Do you care about that? Is that something that you think about at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think about that a lot, I can't ask a fighter to do something I'm not willing to do myself and that I don't do. And so if you see the general, and I know you guys go to the local fights, you see the general essence and spirit of my team.
Oh, yeah.
Is like, that's my spirit. I've embodied that fully to the point where it's tangible to them, and you can see it come through in them. The leader sets the culture. And so I have to, that's on me. That's my responsibility to set the culture and the standard and to embody it every time. The flip side of that, the flip side of the weight of that is that the great meaning that brings me is when I'm injured, when I face adversity, there's no time for me to feel bad for myself. I mean, maybe a little bit behind closed doors, but like I have to, like, I hear my own words to them back to me all the time. Shit, they say it to me. We're built for it, coach. Like if I get hurt, they're like, pain don't hurt. Like, you're right, So it's awesome. I think that leading my team has absolutely made me a stronger person, but a stronger fighter as well.
Yeah, and the perfect transition. The 2021, I mean, it wasn't a perfect year for you, I would say, but it ended, like, you ended the year off with the ultimate goal, maybe not the ultimate goal, but just the ultimate, sacrifice paid off. You're in the UFC. But 2021, you had some, you had to pull out of, I think, 3 fights, Darius Estelle,
Two,
Cody Pfister.
Cody Pfister, a UFC vet. How did you bounce back, or how did that was probably a time where you were listening to your own coaching advice for yourself, but 2021 as a whole, how was that year?
It was a desert. Like, 2021 was a serious desert, man. I had, like, mystery injuries that were pulling me out of a fight. Time's ticking. I'm 31 years old at that time, and I feel this window closing, and I'm trying to wrap my head around that whole journey, and then, like, I get this main event FAC title fight against the UFC vet Cody Pfister. Love the matchup. Cody pulls out of the fight. I get a replacement, still main event, and then I just have this like 6 days for the fight, pop a rib, like the most throwing a jab, hitting pads like a light session. And that was hard. I'd never pulled out of a fight in like 27-something fights. Never, ever. Like, I've been in the cage. I've walked into competition like certainly less than optimal, like several times. Like, I'm pretty committed to that. But I had to pull out. It felt like losing a fight. It felt like losing an opportunity. We rebook. I get back in shape, and that was after having a hernia surgery. So I went 2 years with 2 inguinal hernias. Like, I had been shot twice in the hips. And I trained and taught full-time and fought 3 times with it and all that. So I go through this whole journey. I finally get in position. You know, the gym was, for the first time, like looking like it could run itself for a couple weeks. And so I go get this hernia surgery, and I think, man, on the other end of this, I'm going to fight with this new body.
Yeah.
And then, boom, I get this crazy – I've never been in better shape. I get this crazy rib injury. Then I get back in shape. So I had to get back in shape after surgery. Never been, you know, just like boom. And then I had to do it again. And then I got hurt again. And so I like had to get back in shape like 3 times, pull out all these opportunities. And it felt like, you know, my goal was to get in the UFC in 2021, and the year was almost over. You know, it was just like, it was crazy. But with all of that, there was a lot of success in the year. I poured my energy into the gym. I stayed coaching. I feel like I got better as a fighter during this time. My fight team exploded. My gym exploded. We expanded the gym. It's twice as big now as it was. And all that happened. And then I got, you know, Kraus called me one night, like, as I was closing the gym, was like, got a fight. Dana White looking for a fight, main event. I was like, bro, sign me up. I don't care who it is, you know. And, like, in hindsight, like, the year I had been through had been this incredible build of energy up to this, like, really awesome moment where I was, like, supercharged for that event.
Yeah, I bet.
And I was just so happy to be – I had a very smooth camp, and I was so happy just to be in a healthy working body with an opportunity that I could go do my work and display it. And, so it was a desert, but it was like a desert we mastered, you know.
I love that. And then let's talk about that fight. I mean, JJ Okanovich, if you watch the show, looking for a fight, it's on YouTube right now if you want to go check it out. This guy was a tough friggin' opponent. You guys had the intense stare down. You guys had, I think, respect for each other, but respect for each other's games and your skill sets. And you completely dismantled him, dude. Like, you outstruck him in the first round, and then the second round, you put him to sleep. Like, how great was that fight? Looking back at that fight, how good did that feel? Was it your best performance to date? Was it not?
Yeah.
How was that fight for you?
I think it has to be my best performance to date. Man, I've had some other ones that really stand out to me where it's just like I was just on, and I won every second of the fight against a very good opponent. But this one, with everything on the line and Dana in the house, and like that brings a different energy and the moment.
And a belt, too.
And the belt, yeah. And then to be able to do it in that kind of a moment was awesome. Felt good, man. The moment enhanced, not hindered me. And so that was like a beautiful feeling. And it was a beautiful experience to feel free in the moment. And I didn't overthink the contract and what was on the line. I just really buried myself in like the fight itself and meditated on that a lot before the fight. And then as the fight unfolded, it unfolded exactly as I thought it would based on my film breakdown of JJ. You know, I was kind of the underdog going into it, but like in my own mind, I just didn't see it because I was objectively looking at the film, and I thought what would happen is what was going to happen, and it did happen. And then in the fight, I'm like noticing that that's happening, you know, and so it was just like such a beautiful moment. And then afterwards I won, and like I pretty much knew that I had done my job there, and that was like I couldn't do anything more to get signed. And so that was just a beautiful moment. We had like a bunch of people from Kansas City and from the gym go out and watch the fight, so they were all in Denver too, and just man, it was just the energy. It was a big energy moment, you know.
I was gonna say, it's got to feel good to have your team travel out there with you and
awesome.
be able to watch you. I pulled a lot
of strength from them, you know. Having them in the crowd definitely charged me up.
Now, you essentially predicted your own win over AJ when you said, I'm going to take him down. I'm sorry, what did I say? AJ. I'm looking right at it. At JJ, you said, I'm going to take him down, I'm going to break his face, and then I'm going to choke him out.
Yeah.
You pretty much did exactly that.
Yeah.
Was there,
That's
I mean,
bold,
obviously, you had kind of meeting you the short time we've known each other, I feel like you're a big manifester of your own future. I feel like that's kind of a big thing for you.
I think we all are. I think
said by the samurai.
I think that is what makes you human versus animal. Is the animals they're operating a code, more like a computer. Like they're doing what they're going to do based on what's in front of them, and nature's random, and they have a prescribed action for random A through Z, right? And that's what an animal is doing. Like you throw a steak in front of your dog, it can't help it.
Yeah.
Like this is what it is. Humans have a choice. They're faced every moment by moment by moment, and every like frame of your life you are faced with a choice to go here or here, and you slowly mold your little journey. and manifest your reality. And then in your own mind, we live in our own minds. You literally manifest your own reality through your relationship with yourself and the way you view your life and view what's happening around you.
So was it weird then, after you pretty much predicted it, manifested it, did it, then you, like you said, you knew you had done everything that you possibly could. What was it like after kind of getting up, predicting your own fight, seeing it unfold in front of you? And that's probably got to be hard too, because once you're seeing it unfold in real time while you're actually fighting, is it hard to not jump the gun? Do you still got to let it come to you while that happens? I mean, you're watching it unfold. You're like, he's doing everything I wanted to. Is it hard at that point to not be overeager?
Maybe when I was younger, or like earlier in, it was like my 29th fight, and I trained so much. I have so much experience and repetitions in the gym, in the fights, coaching, cornering, that it's just become like I've just become like a disciplined fighting machine in the cage. I'm gonna run the script. You're gonna get what you're gonna get out of me, no matter what's happening. I'm able to hold that energy. Even in the gym, there's times where you gotta control your mind in a round, So I know the place you're speaking about, but I don't think that place impacts me anymore. And,
okay.
I think that the only way you can get there is be born that way, which I was not, or do experience, repetition, and volume and reflection.
Well, and it speaks to the samurai culture that you've kind of talked about. I mentioned when you walked in that it was a good-looking necklace you had on. You had that custom made.
Yeah, my wife bought me the chain right before the day before the fight.
And she was gracious enough to come in as well.
Yes.
Shout out Aaron.
Give her a wave.
She's my secret weapon in life. But the sword, I was trying to get a gold samurai sword pendant for, as a symbolism to remind myself of, not only the samurai way of life that I've dedicated myself, but that the samurai hold themselves to the ultimate discipline standard, and the symbolism is gold as the gold standard, right? Wow. And so I was like, man, I got to get this gold samurai sword. And I called every jewelry store, went everywhere, and it turns out that I'm the only person on the planet that wants a gold samurai sword because they don't make them. And so I found this jeweler, and I had talked him into making me one. I was going out of town for a fight, so I was like, yo, I need this in 2 days. And he was like, what are you talking about, kid? And he didn't even have gold. It. And so
I need it.
Yeah, he took a half-ounce gold wedding ring from the case, melted it down, made this for me. 3 days later, handed it to me and said, nobody could do this. An old Italian guy, and handed it to me, and I fucking love it, honestly. And so, yes.
You fully embodied the samurai culture,
I
and
appreciate that.
Yeah, it shows. And you got some memorabilia, I think, in your gym. Is that right? You got some katanas or at home, or
no? I
some
do
actual samurai swords?
Have a sword at home. It's actually a replica of the Last Samurai movie sword that Tom Cruise got, and I like it because it has the kanji on the blade that says this sword it says I belong to the warrior where the old ways meet the new, and that resonates with me heavily. So I have that samurai sword. It just sits by my bed, so when I wake up in the morning that I see it.
I feel like a total bitch right now. No, but watching that.
If I make it big, I would really like to buy a samurai sword that was used in battle by a samurai, a sand piece or something.
Well, have you looked for any? Have you even?
No, but I think they're $70 to $100,000, so I'm gonna have to chill for a minute. But that'll be my Porsche or my Lambo.
That's a bonus.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's
a bonus. And then not last thing. I'll talk about the episode, but Dana White is talking during your fight, and he's commenting on you being in mount position, and he's like, he's not doing anything. When you're watching that, are you like, and then you put him to sleep probably 30 seconds later,
yeah.
I'm imagining. Did you take anything from that, or are you like, Dana's just talking for the show? Or
I understand what he's saying. Mm-hmm. What he wants to see is me posture up, take a risk with the position, and smash the guy's face in. But, Dana White is a master of marketing fights and building the fight game, and I appreciate everything he's done for martial arts, but I don't know how many hours he has in mount. You know what I mean? This shit's hard, bro. I have a top level regional prospect underneath me from AKA and a big moment here, and so this, the fact that I have mount should impress you, and that I'm able to hold mount should impress you. But I understand what he's saying, but he did take it back.
He took it back.
I choked him out. So it's like, give me a
never
second,
mind.
bro. I'm working. I don't want to be here for 25 minutes either, bro. I'm working to finish the fight.
Was there anything you want to let us in off camera that happened with Dana White, or was pretty much the only interaction on camera?
They definitely edited some of it out, but there's nothing like I would say they portrayed the best version of the interaction. You know what I mean? It was just a little bit longer, but that makes sense because they want to have a few frames probably to pull from, but nothing like pertinent or anything. It was just a little bit more like conversation.
Okay, and then
you didn't whisper sweet nothings in your ear.
No.
Like you didn't.
So, Bean, do we call you the current? I was gonna intro maybe the current Fury FC lightweight champion. Are you the former Fury FC lightweight champion, or are you just like the all-time Fury FC lightweight champion?
One.
The all-time.
There you go.
I'm the champ.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You are the champ.
The champ is here.
You're literally the champ.
Yeah, I'm just trying to live like a champion every day, man.
Absolutely.
I try to keep a champion mindset, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, I won't be fighting for Fury anymore. So I would say that I vacated that title, although I still have the belt in my dojo, and they're not getting it back. So
I was gonna say they're
All
not
time.
getting the title back.
I'm gonna be the champ.
All-time champ.
I'm gonna be the champ.
What's next for you?
Man,
on this
UFC,
journey?
baby.
I mean, obviously
Yeah.
the
UFC.
UFC is called. Have you had any talks at all about possible matchups? Is there anybody
not
that
yet.
you're looking for that you hope to get matched up with? Kind of what's
Yeah.
that process like?
That was good. That was my next question, Blake. Good
I
shit.
know that's why
Yeah.
we're partners,
Good shit.
buddy. I can read
so-
your mind.
I've been told to be ready by March, but we haven't heard anything official from the UFC or anything. So, but I do hope to fight sometime late February, March, April if I have to. I can't picture it going much longer than that without getting a fight. So, honestly, I could get that information any day, but I don't have an official fight booked. As far as who, I don't care, man. I fully intend to beat all of them, and the order's irrelevant to me. So just.
Yeah.
Just hit
Line 'em up and
shuffle.
knock 'em
Just hit
down?
shuffle and let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you're training with some top 55ers already. Mike Breeden, Grant Dawson, and there's, what's Nick Mack? He's obviously not
He's
155, but he's 170.
He lost
But
a lot of weight.
I mean, there's more than that. There's
ton of
more than
killers.
that.
Yeah, we have we have a massive amount of like pro and high level amateur fighters with Glory now, which is great.
Glory as a whole. There's Glory OP, and then Lee Summit, James Krause, and then Zach Cummings. Like, you guys kind of all came up together, and you're kind of, just expanding the brand. And one of my interesting questions, I remember they did the piece on the UFC with James Krause, and he said, I don't want the super gym type of feel. You guys are getting so much notoriety now with like MMA and worldwide stuff. How big can this get? How does it grow? Or do you kind of agree with that sentiment? I don't really like the super gym feel. I want to keep it me and my guys, or whoever wants to join what we're doing, we'll go in and get after it every day. Or do you want to have a super gym someday? Because this could be like huge. I think it's obviously going to keep growing, basically.
Yeah. Well, this is like, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the first time that there's been 3 gyms in one city together ran by 3 active UFC fighters simultaneously. So all 3 of us have active UFC contracts and head the gyms, and we make a triangle, 20 minutes to parking lot from all 3 locations around Kansas City, like literally. So that's pretty cool. We
take your pick,
actually
man.
took over. We say glory versus everyone, but we actually did
Literally did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know how big it could get. The thing about us though is we're clearly not like a franchise situation, because we all actually came from Lee Summit, and I don't know. Running a gym is hard, and running a gym and fighting at the same time is super hard, and it takes a certain person to really want to do that, let alone be able to do it. So, it seems that alone will naturally keep it from growing out of control. And by out of control, I just mean like quality control. You want to maintain the quality and integrity of the brand first and foremost, because that's what got us to the dance. And so I run the OP gym, and I'm just doing my best. I'm in there 6 to 8 hours a day, like every day. I'm very active. I'm the head coach there. I teach almost every adult class. I run the whole fight team. I do all their matchmaking and everything for them. And then I go to the Lee Summit gyms Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning and train with the fight team there too. So I'm just doing my part. But my gym's growing like crazy, so.
Yeah,
Well,
expansion, baby.
It seems to me that, you talked about being able to run the gym, being able to fight and being able to quality control the gym, as well as not wanting to go off branch from the brand that was built from that original Lee Summit location. It seems like meeting James, I have not met Zach in person, but at least you two, and probably Zach as well, the mindset, the type of way you look at what you guys do, that is what the brand is. You couldn't just have some slap buy a Glory and start doing his own thing. It's the type of person, the type of person you guys are. Yeah, just very, very focused, but very meticulous in their art.
Yeah, I would agree. And
you're different too. Yeah, like you're not the same type of fighters.
Yeah, we are, and but we're just different, like expressions of kind of the similar spirit, you know. And so, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about your gym. This is what I want to talk about. This is what gets me excited because I'm all over the regional scene. Who are some of your fighters? I know I'll mention some.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
Stephen Heston is one of my favorite amateurs to watch. Alejandro Gomez is an interesting guy because I saw his first fight ever, and now he's 5-0. So that's like one of the first guys that I'm like, okay, I saw you fight for the very first time stepping into the octagon. Now you're evolving into an absolute killer. And then Zach Scroggin, he's going to be fighting in front of Dana White. Is it Scoggin or Scroggin?
Scroggin.
That's what I thought.
You're right.
Nick Meck, obviously. I'm a huge Nick Meck fan.
Just had his second pro win. Got a nice Kimura finish.
Who else? I mean, Mason Pillow. That's Mason a fun Pillow. Name to say. He's a man. He's an absolute man. He's a freak.
Where's the camera?
He's a savage.
Hey, listen, boys. He hasn't looked at a list. I'm watching his eyes. This is from memory, boys. You're making waves. Let's go already. Martial arts marathon. Let's go, boys.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about. I guess we'll start with Gomez.
He's the general manager at my gym.
Awesome. Wow.
He lives in the gym with me. He puts in tremendous hours there, and so he is either participating in or watching every single class I teach.
And his career just started, basically.
Yeah, so the amount of information he's absorbing. So he came to me just with wrestling, no striking, no nothing, and he's already absorbed a significant chunk of my system. And my system is very organized and curriculumized. It's all written down. It's all taught in this way. And he is in there just sponging it up, applying himself. And I think he can be a world champion. I believe he has it in him, and we have the time, and I'm extremely focused with him and all of my fighters to make sure that we're bringing elite level world class training to the mat, and I expect big things from him.
He's
about to fight on that
in front of Dana White
against the 6-0 kid,
the FAC 12,
and he's got this. It's funny. Before you go, and Blake, the guy's got like 6 arm bars, right? The guy he's fighting.
Exactly. Yep. 6-0, 6 arm bar.
He's got 6 arm bars. That's kind of crazy.
It's a tough fight. That's all you get when you're a savage like Gomi at this point. Is he's gonna be fighting tough fights. I would expect him to run through this kid and make this kid look like he doesn't belong, to be honest. And Van Sant, boy, you're making waves. Let's go, boy.
Van Sant, I like him too. I like watching him.
Yeah, me too.
I've talked to like multiple guys that train with you exclusively, and they'll say something along the lines. I've talked to them when they're amateurs, and they'll say, "I'll go pro when Trey tells me I'm ready to go pro." Does it feel good? Does that make you feel good that these guys trust you so much with their entire fighting career? What does that mean to you?
I think it makes me feel good, but like it makes me more feel good that they trust me because I do want the best for them, and if they trust me, things are going to go better for them than if they don't.
Exactly.
So if they listen to me, then I think that we'll have favorable outcomes. So it makes me just feel good in that sense.
That's awesome.
Outside of the Glory gyms that you guys have, outside of your guys' team, because we've talked to a bunch of guys, fighters from all over, that pretty much they all talk about how Glory, just in general, is totally different than anywhere they've ever trained before. You guys are probably the most talked about gym. I swear to God, every time we turn on a UFC event and they have a Glory fighter come up,
it's a small scale
too.
They
mention
it's
Glory.
Like...
They mention James Krause. They mention how many up and comers are coming from this gym. Does any of that outside energy seep into the gym at all, or could you guys care less, or do you guys take it as a badge of honor?
Well, I mean, certainly we have to notice what's been happening in the last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's different. And but the thing is I remember when, like, there's the guys that come in from out of town that now that we're getting friction and they're like showing up and love having them. They're all great and they all like get in alignment with the culture really quick and they're great to have and I love them all. But like I remember like 5 years ago when that core group of us was in there every day, twice a day, going to battle, and it's like I remember when we knew before the world knew. So it's no surprise. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like every other overnight success, it took about 15 years. Yeah. And now everybody's talking about it. But we're just doing what we've been doing. We know, we've known,
Yeah, well, that kind of harkens back to what you were saying earlier. It's you knew before everybody knew. Just like in your career.
That's how
you
it goes,
knew.
Man.
You
got to
knew.
be the champ for a long time before they call you the champ.
That's fact.
Wow.
That's a fact.
Got to start grinding, Blake. Let's get on it. But
we knew
we were grinding. We're grinding.
Back when we started Beat Cut, we knew we was on it.
We're grinding. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Super Gym earlier because you guys do it on a way smaller scale, but you're being mentioned up there with the Super Gym. So that's just a credit to what you're doing, a credit to what James is doing, a credit to what Zach Cummings is doing. Gotta add my question in the bag. Save me, Blake.
Segue.
Sorry.
It's okay. Kind of going off into another direction here. As far as, because we joked about usually sometimes we'll play trivia and whatnot, and you said when you watch fighters, you don't necessarily care who the fighter is. You watch how the fighter fights.
Okay,
and that's why you don't really register the names as much.
Yes.
Explain what you were saying about that.
So this is important for young fighters listening, and even pros. There are narratives, right? And the UFC understands that the narratives are what gets the fans intrigued in the fights. The backstories, right? The this person, the that person. And you start to hear these narratives. But the narrative is not the objective fight. And so sometimes fighters get sucked into the narratives. So they could actually fight the narrative of their opponent, not the actual patterns of their opponent. Does this make sense?
Of course.
So it's like you have to be able, at a certain point, to separate the narratives from the patterns. So I call it fight the body, not the person. So like if you go in there to fight, fucking name it, like John Jones, and you fight the narrative of this invincible fighter, or the reverse of it, you're Ronda Rousey and you've fallen in love with your own narrative, right?
Yeah,
and you're
absolutely.
invincible in
Start
your mind,
getting
right?
away from what brought you
Exactly.
there.
So it's like you have to separate that as a fighter and be an objective samurai with a Zen mindset that just sees patterns and the mission and the disciplines. And so when I watch the UFC, first off, I do watch it as a fan. I'm like joking. Oh shit! Like I love this shit. You know what I mean? But I'm not watching because this came up because I probably wouldn't do good with trivia. But I'm gonna let you throw me like a couple. Like I want to see it.
I got nothing for you tonight.
I'm curious.
I'll give you some.
Think of some. You got some.
I'll give you some for tonight.
I was saying I probably wouldn't do that good because I'm not like listening to the names or anything. Like I'm watching the patterns of the fighters, and I'm cross-referencing those with my own, what would I have done in that situation, like second by second, literally, and what do I believe to be true about these positions and patterns, and does this confirm that, or does this break the rule, or is this something new that I don't understand that I need to look into? And I've, so that's kind of how I watch fights, and I'm not really paying attention to this person's name and this person's name.
Do you play video games?
I love
I don't.
that. Like
Okay.
Fight the body.
Fight
the body. That should be on a shirt.
There you go. That could be a
in
shirt.
the gym. Fight the body, not
what
the
you're saying
ego
to me
or the...
seems like, as somebody who does play video games, in a video game, there's patterns.
Yeah.
Like you said. Doesn't matter who you're fighting. It's watching the patterns, watching the rotational, this goes now, then that follows, then this. I think that plays a lot to, and you've kind of described this earlier when we were talking about the difference between animals and humans.
Yeah.
Animals just follow patterns. Humans have the conscious choice to choose and change patterns and adapt to those patterns. So it seems like a lot of this goes directly into fighting and kind of how you view it. You said, I see the pattern of it. And I think
it expands out into life in general. Past fighting in video games and everything. Like there's patterns everywhere, and we're pattern detecting machines. So it's like, I'm walking through the forest and I see a mushroom with this print on it. That pattern means edible, not edible.
Yeah. And
we can store thousands and thousands and thousands of these. You look at these tracks, that means the deer went this way.
Little data
nuggets. Look at that poop, that's mountain lion poop. Like patterns, and we're pattern detecting machines.
You've been looking at a lot of poop.
No,
No, I'm
but
just
when
kidding.
I was in Denver, I was out there and I saw mountain lion poop. It scared the shit out of me. To be honest.
I bet. Did you
Yeah.
turn around real quick? Start
Bro, I
checking your
didn't like it
surroundings?
because I was the only person out there on like a Tuesday afternoon, and I was like, "Fuck, this does not."
Like,
feel
all right, it's fucking go time, mountain
But
lion.
yeah, man. It does expand out everything, and when you
I believe
organize
that, yeah.
everything into patterns, there's a book I really love, Never Split the Difference, and it's a book on negotiation.
Who's it by?
Chris Voss.
Okay.
Chris Voss. I want you to double check me, but I'm pretty sure I
I'll
got
check
that.
this out real quick.
But this is a great audio book, and I also have a hard copy of it too. And like this book this guy organized this the art of negotiation with patterns. So he'd say like, you never want to ask a yes or no question because then that ends the thing.
Exactly.
Right? So this is a pattern of asking a yes or no question versus asking like, how would you do that?
Just like
You know what I
in
mean?
an interview.
Wow.
Yeah.
You never ask a yes or no
Exactly.
question.
So there's patterns in that too, And so the longer I deeply study martial arts, the more sensitive I become to patterns outside of martial arts, which I just find interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I did remember what I was going to say earlier.
perfect.
It's like
Lay
I
it
was
on.
watching a James Krause video the other night. I think Kevin Kroon posted it on his story, but I feel like a lot of people took something with it. You got the remote, Blake. It might be in there, Micah. The remote. I'm not sure. But he said, like, when you went in to train back in the day, there wasn't drilling. You're not training this position. You're not focusing on your guard or your mount. You went in and you fought. Like, you fought each other? Is that how it was for you, too?
I came in pretty early. We call it the Wild Wild West. Certainly sparring was
Heavy?
It was heavy. And, I've been in a lot of gym fights. We spar way smarter now. We train way smarter. In my early days, we were drilling, but what we were drilling isn't nearly as refined or sophisticated or anything like what we're operating now, But Krause had come a little earlier than me. But, yeah, man, like sparring was warfare.
Yeah.
Is it weird being in a sport that not only is it ancient, literally, but it's also brand new? The art of what mixed martial arts is and how it's now marketed to the world. I mean, 30 years, really? And even at 30 years from the time they had the very first UFC Ultimate Fighting event to what it is today, I mean, that's probably an even smaller scale. Is it weird to be in one of the oldest sports yet also one of the youngest sports?
I find it a very exciting time for martial arts because I would say it's like the most significant time for martial arts. So, in my opinion, all of the martial arts, because I came from like a traditional martial arts background. So like,
and what'd you start in?
Hapkido and karate. I did like a traditional Okinawan style of karate as well. And these, it was all about the theory of martial arts. And then when the UFC happened, at the same time the internet happened, which is super important, that then became the global experiment of combining all of the martial arts to sort out what is the pattern when you put them all together that gets produced. And at this particular moment in the growth of the sport, I think we're very close to having it shaked out, even though it's still evolving what would seem rapidly. I would say if you look at what we were operating 40 years ago, this is like we're at the peak. I do believe this is the generation that has the chance to solve the age-old question of what is the most effective way to fight without a weapon one-on-one. This is the generation that'll get to solve it. And I have felt like in my whole life since I was before MMA, I knew about that. I was like doing these whatever traditional martial art was in my hometown, and I was obsessed with this and reading Bruce Lee books and obsessed with what I wanted to do way before competition was I wanted to dissect down what is the actual true martial art and then teach it. And so that is what I'm doing. But what I didn't know at that time is that I was going to have the opportunity to be at the peak of this thing. And, not to get like too crazy out there, but
Beautiful.
I also think that, we're not far away from genetic manipulation, pre-birth, and machines, like literal the police robots,
machine
and shit.
integration.
And you
is
might
heavy.
have like instead of a conceal and carry pistol, you may have like a personal defense bot that like kind of is just hovering around you and fuck someone up. So like I also think
you got money for it.
150 years from now, hand-to-hand combat may actually start to wane in relevance.
I can see that.
And so it's like we're literally at the thing. You see what I'm saying? All
tipping
these years,
point.
all this time, all this energy of all these people, and we have the internet, which is making it happen rapidly because we can see all the fights from all over the world at the same time, and everybody's putting all these videos out explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it, and so to me, it's just like overwhelmingly exciting and meaningful, and it's part of what haunts me, is that like.
There's so much to learn.
I understand that, and I understand that like now is such an important time to like refine, and I, for whatever reason, feel somewhat responsible for pushing and refining the martial art.
Well, not only pushing and refining,
Beautiful.
but also preserving, especially if it's going in the trajectory that you say it's going.
Yeah.
I think it would be a huge detriment to society if everybody just stopped learning some form of...
I don't think they will.
Really?
Right? I don't think they will. I don't ever think that people will. Like, one, jiu-jitsu is the greatest activity of all time, and even maybe a little bit better than the activity itself is the community that surrounds it. So, like, you have a church community, and you see them once a week, every week for, let's say, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
You have a jiu-jitsu community, and you see them 4 nights a week, the same people from all different walks of life. Your church community is one one ideology, and then you have everybody from all this, and, like, they show up for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 4 times a week, and, jiu-jitsu is like a language, martial arts is like a language. You get to know each other different when you're training with one another, and you expose each other to each other's strengths and weaknesses in this way. And so I just can't, the value that it has for people personally and for society in general, I can't imagine it'll ever go away. So, but I do think that maybe within a couple hundred years that the relevance of it as self-defense might start to change, just based on, it seems like technology with AI and everything is just gonna get weird. Shit, we might not even be walking around the streets. We might just be like out in the metaverse or whatever they're talking about.
Well, I meant it more.
I'm not going to the metaverse, but in a couple hundred years, they might all be in the metaverse.
I'm good on the metaverse. I'm not buying into it. But I really meant more in the aspect that you just pointed out. The community aspect, what it does, not only what it physically is doing to you, but what it's bringing to your life as far as communal discipline, stuff like that. It would be a huge detriment if for some reason that faded away.
I believe it's invaluable. I really do. Obviously, I'm biased, but I've seen martial arts change a lot of lives, including mine.
Yeah, and like James too, and fucking.
And even
jiu-jitsu is beautiful,
but
dude.
not even you don't even think about like a professional competitor, because that's obvious. But people who are looking for a community and looking for something meaningful to do.
Yeah.
And
it is
looking
meaningful.
for some self-confidence and looking for some health and physicality and vitality. And then if you can find a good BJJ gym, with a good culture in it, then that can provide a lot of meaning to people's lives. And then, there's competitions and we have fights and you can go watch the fight team. And so there's things to go do on the weekend. And I think it's great, man.
Great growth too for your, like you said, for yourself. Like, I can't even say it anything better than that. But 10-year journey to get from like a white belt to a black belt, maybe. And that's not including like just jiu-jitsu. It's including like everything you do around it, right? How good of a teammate you are. And
exactly.
All that stuff is taken into consideration. So jiu-jitsu is fucking beautiful. Blake, do you have any final questions before I wrap it up here?
That sounds like a great place to kind of end on an uplifting kind of message. And anything you would like to say, we've covered a wide swath of things talking about, and we really appreciate you coming in, obviously.
Swath. You say it's wide swath? Wide swath of things.
Is it swatch or swath?
I don't know. I've never heard that. That's why I was asking.
It's a wide swath.
We covered a wide swath of things tonight.
But anything that you kind of wanted to get out, maybe to a message that to your team, a message to your fans, a message just to people in their lives in general.
It's all love, man. Love is the answer.
And that's coming from somebody who will rip your face off.
I will too.
Well, Aaron, if you'll help me out here, we have this thing that we do with B-Cut. We give our first guests, when they come in studio, a gift.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, when you were looking for a fight with Dana White, he called you old, Trey.
I know.
And so what I have for you here, if you'll bring it in to the camera, I got Trey a walking stick because
samurai sword.
Dana White called him an old man, essentially. 32 years young, but you're in the UFC finally.
That's
for you.
Honestly, all I see is a weapon.
That's what I thought it was.
You know what I mean? All I see is a weapon right here. So I'm happy. I'll be swinging this around. Hopefully I don't break nothing.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you, Trey, for coming.
Thanks, man.
Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like this video. It will be coming out very soon. Obviously, when you're watching it, it'll be out. But thanks again, Trey.
The Samurai Ghost.
Rooted MMA, baby. Samurai Ghost. That's a wrap. Peace.
Appreciate you.